Now I will make you understand about the modes of reproduction, ways of reproduction, how an organism reproduces. There are two main ways of reproduction. They are asexual and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is the mode of reproduction which is present in prokaryotes or lower organisms. This is the simplest way of reproduction. This asexual reproduction is the simplest way of reproduction by which prokaryotes or lower organisms reproduce, continue their race. And the best example we can take here is the example of an organism called as amoeba. Amoeba is a prokaryote, a primitive organism. It is unicellular. Now, what does this prokaryote mean and what does unicellular mean? Unicellular, you can better understand, means this amoeba is made up of one cell, because we have already learned so much about amoeba. And now, what does this prokaryote mean? This we have learned in the first chapter, where we have discussed thoroughly on prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes mean this amoeba is made up of, and this amoeba is made up of a single cell. This amoeba is made up of single cell, and within this cell is the nucleus, but it has no nuclear envelope. This is diffused nuclear envelope. In some cells, no nuclear envelope. The genes and the DNA is dispersed in the cytoplasm. So they are called as prokaryotes. Those organisms which don't have a definite nuclear envelope, they are called as prokaryotes. We are eukaryotes. Humans are eukaryotes. We have a definite nucleus enveloped with nuclear envelope, and our genetic material, that's DNA, is confined only to this region, nucleus. But the genetic material here in amoeba is not confined only to this nucleus, because it doesn't have a definite nuclear envelope. And that was the concept of prokaryote and the unicellular. Now a question comes into mind, that how this single cell, this is the single cell which is called as amoeba, how the single cell functions so accurately as our millions of cells function coordinately. It performs all functions as a multicellular organism. It performs respiration through its body surface. It performs digestion, but by making the food vacuole. Already these points I have discussed in the class. It also performs reproduction, but that is the simplest way of reproduction. It divides its body simply into the two, where the half nucleus goes into on one side, and then another half of the nucleus goes in the another side. Some genes come here, some genes come here. Because without the nucleus, if any portion of the amoeba doesn't get the nuclear part, it will not grow into the full-fledged amoeba. And now here, when this bifurcates, when this divides into two, but it divides into equal halves, two equal halves, with half nucleus on this side and half nucleus on this side, then it divides into two daughter cells, and then this cell grows into one amoeba, and this cell grows into another amoeba. This was all the concept of about the asexual reproduction in lower animals. Here we cited the example of amoeba, and this type of asexual reproduction which takes place in amoeba is called as binary fission. Binary means two and fission means to divide. Here this amoeba divides into two equal halves, so it's called as binary fission. There are so many other types of asexual reproduction. For example, budding is there. Budding is there. Fragmentation is there. Budding takes place in plants. Fragmentation takes place in lower organisms. While organism divides into organism divides into small fragments, and those fragments then make a full-fledged organism. One important point about this asexual reproduction is that it does not involve two organisms. It does not involve two organisms to come in contact. It does not involve gametes. It does not involve zygote formation, because all these things are needed in sexual reproduction. I will make you understand there what gamete is, what is zygote, and why two organisms need to come in contact for fertilization. Here these concepts doesn't involve, because this is the simplest way of reproduction. Hope you have understood the asexual reproduction. Now the next type of reproduction comes here, that's called as sexual reproduction. That's called as sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction is the complex form of reproduction which takes place in higher animals, higher organisms rather, plants, animals, and including humans. Sexual reproduction, before actually going into the detail of this topic, you have to remember few important points about the sexual reproduction here. That is, it involves two organisms, male and female. It involves sexual reproduction here. It involves two organisms. It involves male, it involves female. The male produces sex cells, those are called as sperm cells, and female also produce sex cells, they are called as ova or egg cells. These sperms and ova are also called combinedly as gametes. This is male gamete sperm, and ova is female gamete. When these two cells come and fuse with each other, they form zygote. And this process of fusion of a male gamete with female gamete is called as fertilization.